Here we go.
G'day fans and welcome to another exciting episode of Rip It Off the Card on a Wednesday night, and I can tell you fans that you are going to be loving this episode because I plan to not say that much because unlike Aaron, who's as absolutely fit as a Mallee bull, Uncle Dags here is struck down by the old COVID-19. That's it. I've picked up the disease. I'm sort of tottering on the brink here. It's like I was walking down the street and I was like, oh, this is all happening. It is not good. So I'm as sick as a woofer. So if I end up snorting and coughing and farting and pissing and carrying on in the show, you'll know what's going on. Oh, it's a pain in the backside. Mr. Aaron, how you going, old son?
Well, if you were doing all that, we would just think it was the an early appearance of the vial file. Yes, it's Rip It Off the Card now, 50% COVID-free. I've had a good week.
Tell you what, absolutely unbelievable. I only picked it up or got the symptoms last night, and I can tell you all about it. And as you asked me before I went on there, are there symptoms? And yes, there are. I got a sore bits here, and I got sniffly bits there, and I got a sore bit there, and I had to isolate one part of the house, my other half Lynn's in the other part of the house. It is a pain in the backside, and that's not part of the COVID-19 problem. So, yes, I plan to not say as much tonight. Having said that, I've said all this crap so far. Maybe you just can't stop me. What do you reckon there, Mr. Aaron?
Well, I hope you make it through because what would I do without you?
Oh, yeah. You watch, the ratings will go up when they realise, oh, shit, Dags is not saying much. How good is this? So, Gavin's sympathetic to me. Yeah, poor old me. Geez, I tell you what. As you can imagine, I'm laying in the bedroom because the other half's out in the other room. And I'm just going, oh, man. My other half, quick. Oh, I'm sick. Oh, I need symph. I need help. Oh.
I need spice. Bring the spice.
Love it. I looked at some Gavin. Yeah, proctologists are a pain in the butt. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Yeah, we got it all very, very groovy episode tonight with some cool stuff. So, how you go? Did I ask you how you were going? I'm actually forgetting things already.
Yes, we've already gone through that. So that's the code. No, that's the dementia. Sorry.
Yes. So it's Dags and some other dude. Lucky I don't know your names on the screen. I'd forget who you are, but. Unbelievable. So, yes, be a bit patient with me tonight, guys, if I snort and fart and carry on. So, there you go. Very, very cool. All right, we've got a lot to cover off as per the usual. So, let us not muck around. Oh, now, before I go any further, even though he's not watching at the moment, Moneybag Sullivan, who, when we do this show, has a tendency of saying he don't talk about Docky Who. He's not interested in Docky Who. Yeah, give Docky Who the ass. Came into your store on Saturday. And what did he talk about? Docky Who. Isn't that right there, Mr. Aaron?
He did. I do like this version of Doctor Who.
Yeah, well, that's right. So, and it's like, dude, you've just started the conversation. He's like, you're not a Docky Who fan. And I did say to him that, I'm going to bring that up on tonight's show. He hasn't joined yet because clearly he's embarrassed. And yes, very good. Like, hello there, COVID man flu at once. Yeah. Oh, okay. Jibbers
we sound like it.
And at least Michael's good to see Michael joining the show. He's wishing us well, which is a particularly groovy. Sorry, dude, you going to say something?
It sounds like a pair of superheroes or villains, doesn't it? COVID man and man flu.
They turn up to rescue the damsel in distress and they're just coughing and spluttering and all, which I'm about to do right now. Yeah. Oh, my goodness gracious me. And later on, everybody, you've got to stick around for the vial file after what happened last week. It's an absolute ripper this week. But anyway, let's us move on. So we've gone past the Docky Who. Let's get into some very, very exciting stuff. All right, so what are we talking about tonight, Mr. Aaron? Because there's a whole lot you've sent through this week.
I had too much to choose from. I've got to say, this weekend was one of the biggest toy announcements weekends of the year because it was San Diego Comic-Con. And some of the sites I look at had 100 different announcements with 100 different figures and franchises and all of that. So I had to sift through to bring the absolute cream of the crop to our viewers. Do you think I did a good job, or you still looked at it and go, what is this crap?
I was just thinking, the pain you must have had to put yourself through. Oh, my God, I've got to go through all these ultra-rare, brand-new collectibles. Oh, getting teeth pulled is more exciting. Now, 2 points I've got to bring up. Greg has said, secretly, everybody wants to talk about Docky Who. Greg, let me just think about that for a second. No, they don't. And I like this from Rusky Babes. Yes, Sully, which is Moneybag Sullivan, is the Jodie Whittaker of Sci-Fi Zone. Oh, cop that. He's not even here to defend himself. So there you go.
Later on, while we're talking about him, I did actually find an item. I don't know if you saw the Moneybags item hidden down the track.
Oh, excuse me. Exactly right. And Rusky Babes has highlighted the fact that I still actually my voice is still roughly the same. You know, when you get the flu, you sound completely different. But
Yep.
unfortunately, my jabberings can continue on as per the norm, which is the way to go. All right, so there's a whole lot that came out. Some things I thought, oh, that's grouse. Other things I go, yeah, whatever. But let's kick it off with a bit of the origins. Eternia. Oh, mate.
Now, I don't know how many He-Man Masters of the Universe fans are joining with us live, but one of the hardest pieces to get from the original He-Man run is the Eternia playset. Eternia was one of the last play sets out towards the end of the run. It was absolutely huge. It was an expensive piece. It didn't really get shipped much overseas because it was such a large item. It goes for a lot of money on the secondary market, and no one ever thought they would really do this because it's massive. To give you an idea how massive it is, how massive is it, Dags?
Effing huge would be the answer to that question.
It dwarfs Castle Grayskull and it dwarfs Snake Mountain. And I had one, and I thought I have the perfect place for it. I'll put it on top of my toy cabinet, and it didn't fit because the roof wasn't tall enough. So that's how huge it is. Now, Origins is the current line of He-Man figures that are basically inspired by reissuing the originals. They're not exactly the same as the originals, but they're pretty damn close, and they're all in the original packing. So if you don't want to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on the original figures, you can get the Origins one, and that will suffice. Now, Eternia was announced at Comic-Con, and of course everyone is absolutely losing it. How much is it going to cost? How big is it? Is it going to be easy to get? I don't know these answers yet, but because we're in Australia, it'll probably be hard. So keep your eye out on all the regular places to pre-order these things, because I think they're going to disappear pretty fast.
I like how you said that you're trying to find a place to put it, and I thought he's probably tried to stick it above your bed so you can, when you're laying in bed, you're just looking at it all the time.
Well, the thing about Eternia is it has a working monorail, so you can see it has like this figure eight around it, and the great thing about the original Eternia is the monorail track went brittle after about 6 months. So you try to use it and they all disintegrate. So it's a very hard play set to get. So a lot of fans will be after this one because they're not going to, put up the money for an original.
Gavin has asked, how big is it? Yeah, that's a bit personal. Not when it comes to Aaron, because I tell you what, he's never shy to brag. Michael mentioned about $500 American, which is probably about $750, give or take Australian, which probably wouldn't surprise me. The bigger they are, the more expensive they tend to be.
Yes.
And sorry, Mark has mentioned the Origin remakes are selling out as soon as they hit the shelf. So very, very cool.
Yeah.
Well done. So you're going to say something?
I was just going to say, do you know what shop has a good range of He-Man Origins figures?
Tell me.
Aaron's Collectables in Blackburn.
Oh, go check it. If you had given me some forewarning, I could have put the sign up on the thing on the screen to say, yes, go check out Aaron's Collectables in Blackburn. Especially this Saturday, because one of the staff members is not going to be there, so you can have a whale of a time. And you get Aaron all to yourself. How good's that?
You're a great co-host. Whenever we talk about Aaron's Collectables, you flail around and do nothing. But I say spanking, and the monkey comes out straight away.
What, the monkey?
Yes. I think you should have an Aaron's Collectables button as well, just in case.
Yes, absolutely fantastic. All right, so I've got the He-Man Eternia stuff. It's all very, very groovy. Now, this one I thought, they're obviously preparing for the new movie that's coming out. I do wonder how successful this is going to be. There's a fair bit of it, and it's Lego for Avatar. So
now,
what's the deal, dude?
I picked this one because it's a really interesting thing that Avatar is one of the most popular movies ever for a decade. Nothing beat it at the box office. There was very little merchandising. And when they did release merchandise, nobody wanted it. It was one of those movies that even though it was incredibly popular, every demographic loved it. Lots of people went and watched it multiple times, and it became one of the biggest hits of the decade. There wasn't much merchandise. And this time round, I guess the merchandisers are getting in a little bit earlier. And Lego have announced, I think there's 3 or 4 sets here for Avatar right off the bat. So we're getting Avatar towards the end of the year, but we're already seeing some of the Lego stuff. It is very colourful and I guess child-friendly looking Lego. It's got sort of a unique look that is based on Avatar, and the stuff in Avatar really isn't like anything else in the movies. It'll be interesting to see a franchise which has basically been dormant for 15 years will be able to come back and be popular enough to sell Lego to kids.
Yes, you do wonder, and I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't do that well. I agree with you. It's just one of those things that people would say that looks great, it looks wonderful, but would I buy that over a set of something else that is out and about at the moment? I would say a lot of people say no, not really. They like afford it is, but not enough to buy the Lego for it. So, and I bet you, sorry, the Lego wouldn't be cheap either. So here you go. I like this one from Moneybag Sullivan. He's talking about it's a shameless plug for your store. Dude, this entire show is a shameless plug for your store.
What I don't have? Well, I don't have hair plugs. Just what? Shameless plugs.
You're an idiot. Christy's saying about like publicly spanking it shouldn't go there. Christy, we always encourage people to go there. That's exactly right. Very, very cool. And about Avatar, the aliens are blue. Yes, the Na'vi. And I do wonder. So I wouldn't be surprised if it sort of doesn't work. But that's why I thought it was funny when they showed the picture of the kids playing with the toys, and they probably have no idea what these things even are or what it's from, because these kids would have been like non-existent when Avatar first came out. So they're probably going, hold the toy and play with it like you're really loving it. And they're going, I've got no idea what it is.
Just pretend it's Harry Potter. Just pretend it's Harry Potter. And then they got the kids to smile. Lego were making the mistake of thinking that kids actually play with toys anymore. It's all adults.
Yeah, exactly right. So I do wonder, and I think if somebody does buy some of the Avatar stuff and they go, look, I built the plane and the bird and this and that, people go, that's great, but really don't care. One thing that people may care about or may not, for totally different reasons, is a bit of the old Darl and Drury. So we've got action figures for that.
Dungeons and Dragons, yes. So this is one of the ones I picked from the current crop that have been announced at Comic-Con, because these are reissues of the original Dungeons and Dragons figures from the 80s, but they've all been, scaled up and super detailed, and they're kind of figures that you would have loved when you were a kid, but we didn't get. So again, this is purely aimed at, guys in their 40s who grew up with these characters and playing them back in the day. These were around in Australia back in the 80s, but they were very hard to get. I can imagine these selling out really fast and being quite hard to find.
Yeah, it is sort of interesting, isn't it? So just to be clear, it's based on the game, right? Not the movie. Is that correct?
Yeah, the game spawned artwork, and the artwork was so good that the artwork came. They made a whole bunch of figures out of it, and some of them were directly from the pages of, dungeon master manuals, and other ones were inspired by other things. But what I like about this is they look like the original figures, but the original figures were often from artwork that they just couldn't do justice to back then. But now the figures look like the original sort of artwork that was done at the time.
Okay. Rusky Babes is on the money. Avatar, evil corporations sell you toys about a movie attacking evil corporations. Don't you love it, eh? Yeah. I mean, for love it or hate it, I mean, Avatar may have had a very simplistic story, but visually it was a mind-blowing. And I'd be curious to see what happens when number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc., all comes out. In the interim, though, if you're this is not an Orion slave girl, it's the complete opposite. It happens to be the old She-Hulk.
Now, there was lots of stuff announced over Comic-Con weekend, Marvel, DC, and lots of different characters. We could have done this whole show on Comic-Con issues, but I went with She-Hulk because the trailer dropped as well, and it's now She-Hulk, Attorney of Law, and it looks like they'll be going down the path, which is almost like Harvey Birdman, which would be really interesting, but a big budget Disney version of it with one of the characters debuting on Disney Plus. They've actually done a really good job of articulation, making it look like the actress, making it sort of true to the trailers of what we've seen. The trailers look quite CGI, so this you could argue actually looks more realistic than the trailers do. But I think She-Hulk is a popular enough character that this will probably disappear quite fast from the shops. She'll obviously be one of the not the shelf warmers, one of the ones to fly off, because people will buy one to open and one to keep and one to sell later.
I'd love to do a study to say, well, who would the customer base be? Would it be all male or female, a mixture of both, young females, old male, or females? Yeah, get a what do you call it? A demographic sort of look to see, well, who would she appeal to? I'd be very curious to see what that is. So, yeah.
Well, the trailer dropped and it has Mark Ruffalo, so I think it'll get a lot of the DC Universe fans jump onto this one more than some of the other Disney Plus stuff that might be around at the moment. They'll sell more She-Hulks than they do Moon Knights, that's for sure.
Can't argue with that. Who's the actress, do you know?
She's from Orphan Black. Let me. I've forgotten her name now.
Right.
Russ, can you put that up? He'll know.
Yeah,
but
somebody can do a bit of a wiki.
Tatiana, I think Mamsie or something like that. I'm
Somebody
guessing.
can look it up. Yeah,
Yep.
all good. Very, very groovy. Let's see how that all goes. Yes, very, very cool. Yes, more Marvel, not DC, as Christy said. Now, this one's gone completely left field. A bit of Herman Munster. What's the deal with this, dude?
It is. I could only find the one picture from the Comic-Con weekend, but you may not have seen this week dropped the Rob Zombie trailer for the Munsters movie that's coming out in a month or two, and it has been hailed on the internet as one of the worst trailers ever released. It literally looks like the production level of Rip It Off the Card is better than the fonts and everything they used on this trailer. So I don't know if it'll do justice to the Munsters. I've got to say, when they released footage in black and white, it actually looked quite good. When they released footage in colour, it looked really trashy. Now, this is one of the figures that has come out for it. It's Herman. You can see one of the other figures behind it. I do think with the popularity of the Munsters and with how little merchandise there actually is, these will probably sell incredibly well.
Yeah, it's a school of thought to say if they did a black and white version, would that be more popular? But yeah, it looks good. You know, each their own. I mean, ironically, you'd like to think if they're going to do him, they do all the family. But you know,
yeah,
very, very good. Now, this one is a bit of a left field, right? This is a classic example. If you produce a toy and nobody knows what the reference is to the movie, they'll be looking at it going, "Oh, this is a bit rough. What's the deal with this?" And of course, it's the old dog thing from freaking Alien, the Thing. And I looked at this, I go, I can't see anybody saying, yep, I've definitely got to have one of those.
Yep, I've definitely got to have one of those. Thing is one of my favorite movies. So anytime they release anything merchandise, I kind of do put it on the show. I thought this was interesting because they've obviously gone through and go, what haven't we released before? And they have released just about everything. They've even released that version of the Thing that we're looking at now in a box set. But the version with the dog with the removable head and the skull inside, they have never done that one before. And I think that is actually quite cool. And you can replace the head with the normal dog head, and you can take the spider's legs out. So you get the dog as, you know, pre-Thing, and you can have it, you know, the Thing bursting out of it as well. So I thought that was quite a cool figure. And if you have got a Thing collection and you've got different versions of McCready and all the other things, that dog version is the one you'll probably want.
Yeah, for those who aren't aware of it, the dog, so they can afford to do it and get away with it because the dog that you see in the Thing is not a real dog. It's been an imitated dog. So when the head splits open, it's not like it's a real dog that's head split open. So you can get away with it. It's not like an animal cruelty sort of thing. So that's probably the reason why they can market it that way. They wouldn't do any of the other dogs because they were real dogs at that point in the show, and they're the ones that get attacked by the dog thing. So it's as gruesome as it is. It was one of the most stunning moments of the entire movie where you finally got to see what everything was about, and when its head was doing, you go, "Oh, okay, this is not E.T." because E.T. was came out the same year, and exactly right. So so it wasn't a dog. Mark, it was an imitation of one, which is why they can get away with it. But yes, I can't imagine you look at your other half and you go, you know what? I reckon she'd like one of those. You buy yourself a dog thing and go, yeah, honey, I was thinking of you when I saw it.
Yes.
Absolutely love it. So yes, if you like your things, I like it. Yeah, the more you can't help but get more and more things, which is particularly cool. Now, all right, so that's all the Comic-Con exclusive stuff that we are showing for this evening, and there's going to be lots more of it coming out in the future in the stores. Watch your local retailer. But in the interim, we're going to do something a bit more important. It's time for this
Useless Pop of the Week!
Now, going by our current process, we're going to show you what the pops are without the boxes, and you have to kind of guess what it is. What do you reckon there, Mr. Aaron?
Yeah, I think this is one of those that either people are going to get it straight away or they're just not going to know who it is at all. Did you know who this was?
No freaking idea.
Yeah, you read the box, and even reading the box, did you know who this was?
No freaking idea.
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit, and people can have their guesses if they know who this actually is. This is one of those pops that I think is a really weird choice for them to have released because this is a villain from a franchise, and if you release the version of it that everybody knows, you would you'd probably have a good pop. And when I say good pop, I mean a crap pop that people would buy. But when you release his sort of alias that no one even knows, then you've got a useless pop. And not only did they not, Well, we've got one. Well, Daniel knows his useless pops. It is. But it's not Black Mask. It is Black Mask, but it's Roman, his other identity. Now, this is the thing I don't get. When they released all these pops, you would think, people like getting the heroes and villains, and this is Ewan McGregor. Did you see the likeness there, Dags? You could tell that was Ewan McGregor straight away, couldn't you?
Mate, only their mother can tell them apart. What can I say?
But why wouldn't you release the Black Mask? Because the Black Mask is the villain. This would be like releasing a whole wave of Batman 89 figures, and you release the Jack Napier, but you don't release the Joker. Twin paperweights, exactly. It's the same with this. They released all the this is from Birds of Prey, the Harley Quinn, the Emancipation of Harley Quinn movie, and they didn't release the Black Mask version. Now, I don't know if that's because they would have had to have done a different sculpt because the face is stylized and it's cheaper just to take a off-the-shelf Obi-Wan and paint it a little differently, and there you go, you've got a different character. But again, I'm ranting, but that is a useless pop.
Calvin's got this one worked out. Yeah, it's just shaking your head. Because there's two of them, if you need to chock up the car to change the tyres, just put one under each wheel. Way back up here, Chrissy said, how is it your missus hasn't killed me yet? Yeah, well, we're doing the dog thing. I definitely not going to give her one of those. She would not see the funny side of it, even if I did. So, yes, very good. And I agree with Ronnie, Gavin. Yeah, Ronnie will be flogging these off at Christmas. Speaking of Ronnie, what's the latest with him? All right, so there's been a lot of conversations going on between you and Ronnie at the moment. Is that right?
There is. We haven't got a lot to look at this week. Nothing has arrived, and I haven't ordered anything else because I've ordered so much. I want some stuff to turn up before I start ordering any more. We have got a lot of stuff on order, but I've had some conversations with Ronnie about how things are going and some of his concerns, and I thought I'd share them on tonight's episode. Did you read these, Dags?
Not really. I will say, how's he going? It's like he's currently on a slow boat out to another country at the moment, trying to escape all the angry people who didn't get their items like yourself. So it's a bit of text here. Mr. Aaron has to do a bit of reading. And in this case, it is from Ronnie.
So Ronnie watched last week's episode. For those who haven't watched it, I ordered some I Dream of Jeannie stuff, so I put Ronnie's head in the opening credits from I Dream of Jeannie. And obviously Ronnie has never seen I Dream of Jeannie. Hi, Aaron. I see episode. I still think people are not convinced I am super nice, super fun, nice guy. And what is with lady in Arabian Nights cartoon missing little big-eared Ronnie Woo alien in spacesuit? Now, this is what he sent me. So that's not me changing his words. Missing little-eared Ronnie Woo alien. I am very confused. So am I, Ronnie.
I think he's talking about the Ferengi image that you have of him.
Well, it must be, yes. We put the Ferengi in a spacesuit from I Dream of Jeannie, so he must be confused about that. Okay. Still laugh, still think show is product of deranged mind.
Yep.
It in a funny, good way. I thought you would buy more items from my store to help with shipping costs of Little Home for Hobbit, but you choose inferior products from somewhere else. I am confused, but the show and what I am doing, are we friends or is this candid joke? Ronnie.
God, cop that, mate. He's sinking the boots in you, old son. He's saying you're not buying enough stuff from him, you're buying it from his competitors. What's the deal? Well,
I've been waiting for a lot of things, and we have got stuff we bought from him. We're waiting for an Infinity Gauntlet. We're waiting for Indiana Jones material. And now I think, yes, I did buy from other people, but I have sent him many times the postage for the items that we have ordered that haven't turned up yet.
Very good. Anyway, here was your response to him.
Hey, Ronnie, I will buy more stuff from you guys, but I feel I have sent enough payments for shipping for my items. Why didn't you send it with the piranha plant? This is the Hobbit home that I'm talking about. I'm very happy with the plant. I'm not happy I'm still waiting for the Hobbit item. And that if you can't supply it, can you send a replacement item in its place? I figure I have about $55 credit with the payments I have paid. I haven't got more items for you to review. All the best, your friend Aaron.
Yeah, I can clearly see he's not going to go for that. He's going to ask him for more dollars to send it. So what does he say?
Dear Aaron, I'm sure it better if you just pay for lots of items and we ship home for hobbits with them and not look for refunds or exchanges. I am sure you will be very happy with him when he comes, Ronnie.
So that's the problem. He's shot himself in the foot because he's now admitted that he didn't send the Hobbit home previously after 3 lots of $9.95 extra shipping. So he's actually cocked himself up there, son, and said, yeah, we haven't sent it yet. Send more money, buy more stuff, and then we'll send it out. So unbelievable. What do you reckon, dude?
Well, I don't know why they didn't send it when they sent out the Piranha Plant, the Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horror. But that's the way their company works.
Very good. So what did you say?
Hi, Ronnie. I'm still waiting for an Indiana Jones order and an Infinity Gauntlet. Could the Hobbit home come with this, Aaron? And there's some of the items that we've ordered. We've got the Indiana Jones and the Infinity Gauntlets. Dear Aaron.
Yep, go for
it. Sorry. Didn't know you had ordered these things. Sadly, couldn't put with them. You will have to order more. Let me know this time when you order, and I will ask you to pay an extra $9 for extra postage and finding your order and getting Underling to repack. Just let me know when you do what you order and when you will do this. You know I am a friend and you know I will help. Ronnie.
That is absolutely unbelievable. An Underling. Right, it's the like the little kid down in the what do you call it, the sweatshop. It's his fault. Good old Ronnie the handballer. What do you reckon?
I know. Again, did you see what he slipped in there? He was very slippery. He slipped in another $9 payment for postage when I've paid 3 times for a free item, the free postage, and the postage has cost me twice as much as the item.
Yeah, that's just absolutely unbelievable, isn't it? And you just see, and the thing is, he's just constantly showing that they've got no idea what they're doing and they're just making all these mistakes. And there would be people out there who would fall for it. They go, yep, I'll send another $10. It's only $10. I've got $10 in the wallet. Who cares? And yes, just crazy. So very, very good. I don't think your Hobbit home's coming, dude. I think you got no hope of getting it.
I think I was scammed with that Hobbit home. But then the Maltese Falcon turned up late and the Audrey 2 turned up late. Maybe, they're fashioning a Hobbit home from something and I'll get one eventually. I don't know.
Good old Thomas is sinking on the boots in big time. Look at that. Oh, simple premise. Yeah, you're right. It is a simple premise. You order something and it turns up and everybody's happy. But we're dealing with companies that don't mind doing some shady deals on the side. And, of course, as we said previously, the cheaper these things are, the more likely is that more people will buy them. And if they don't turn up or they're the wrong item, they'll just go, yeah, whatever. It was only $30. Who cares? Unbelievable. So there you go. But I'll tell you what is not. Sorry, going to say something?
No, I was just going to say that's all we had this week. I'll have to turn some other dodgy Asian warehouse manager into an internet sensation if he can't supply the goods.
Yeah, exactly right. And I agree with Gavin. Yeah, the Hobbit home will just be a shoebox in the middle of the road. Well, yes, exactly right. And if you do want to see the old Audrey 2, it is actually in Aaron's store in the Greg King's Cheaper Things glass cabinet, which is particularly groovy. Speaking of things which are particularly groovy, I'll tell you what, this one is actually going to be an absolute corker. It is now time for the Lord Vile's Vile File. Is that right there, Mr. Aaron?
It is. And Lord Vile is on a roll, I think. If you enjoyed last week's, this kind of carries on from it, didn't it? We did get some mail. I didn't get much mail. You got the mail this week, I think, didn't you, Dags?
Yes, it was the Sci-Fi Zone site.
Yeah, so we got a letter from Andrea Smith. I love the Vile File, and I thought he might like to use this picture on a future episode. 4-pack of arse muffins, Andrea Smith. So I don't even know what that was meant to be.
Well, it's assorted muffins, but you don't put arse. You put down ASSORT or something. I mean, clearly you don't write that. But I've got to say, if I went up to imagine that. You go into the checkout lady and you go, excuse me, I'm looking for some arse muffins. Can you help me?
Yeah, they'd help you. They'd help you right to security.
Yeah, but it's a legitimate thing. I said the sign clearly says arse muffins. So there you go. Freshly produced that very, very morning. What can I say? So well done, Andrea, for finding that one and telling us all about it. Awesome stuff. Now, that actually brings us to our the Viles trip to the supermarket this week. Is that right there, Mr. Aaron?
Yeah, the vial is in the middle of putting some other stuff together, but because Andrea sent that in and because last week's was so successful, I had a few people come into the shop and say that was a particularly good vial file. We've gone with the same kind of thing where the vial has now gone to his local supermarket and he is picking out his vilest items to share with us. Did you think these were particularly vile, Dags?
I tell you what, I mean, maybe I want to go down to my local Woolies. If I wasn't infected with the old COVID-19 virus, I'd be down there right now checking it all out. And I agree with Mark. You can actually literally hand someone their ass on a plate. Love it. Very, very cool. All right, so these are all real items. We didn't make any of these up. So next time you're down at your Coles or your Woolies or even your Costco's or whatever, keep your eyes open for some of these things.
So this is some of the aisles he likes to actually shop in. We've got the chips, the popcorn, the nut sacks, and the soda drinks. So I guess if you're feeling like a soda drink because you've eaten a lot of nuts, that's the aisle you want to go down. I particularly love this sign, though. Baby needs beers and wines.
What can I say? You got to start them young, dude.
Well, start in the morning because look what's in the breakfast aisle. Wine, beer, wine, cheese, and beer. Now that's a breakfast of champions, isn't it?
I think they're trying to make it pretty clear that for breakfast there's only a choice of beverage to have. But I love that. I love this one up here, nut sacks. What the hell would that be, dude?
Sacks of nuts.
Oh, good on you. Yeah, well done. So there you go. Yeah, done by a parent. Do they sell scrotum? So yes, freshly squeezed, if you know where I'm coming from. All right, let's move on.
Well, this is the back to school specials, and these are really interesting because you've got your back to school stay sharp knives, and then maybe it's the teachers section, but it's the back to school alcoholic drinks section. So I don't know where schools these are. Maybe Frankston.
What about this one, dude? You got all the knives. You're going back to school. Pick out your knife.
The stay sharp knives. It's fantastic. You get your pens, your pencils, your notepads, and your implements of stabbing and destruction.
I love it, eh? So do you have to start with a small one and work your way up through the variety as you're increasing in the levels? But I love that. Yeah, back to school and got all these carving knives. Absolutely,
yeah,
I love it.
I think you start
very, very cool. Oh yeah. But yeah, back to school, the teachers' emergency support. Yeah, exactly right.
Yes. So yeah, back to school, and this is something that I think all parents can sympathise with.
Yep.
Now here's some interesting things. The Vial likes to shop at a supermarket that's convenient, so he goes to one that's open 9 days a week. And look at the bargains on this: buy 3 and get 0 free.
Now, I love it. So that's a Ronnie sort of way of promoting something, isn't it? Hey, buy 3, get nothing free.
Buy something and pay postage for it 3 times. But that's a bargain you can't walk past, is it? Unless you're going to go and buy some Pop-Tarts. Now, they're not as smart as the other Pop-Tarts, but there you go.
Well, what have we got down here, dude?
Well, I hate to say it, but Morrison's wafer-thin penis. If I was Morrison, I wouldn't be bragging about that, would I?
Oh, I love it. Thin. What the hell would that be, dude? I mean, really, like, is that a skinless Frank gone wrong or something?
Morrison's wafer-thin pennies? I don't know. I really don't know what it'd be. You'd probably have to Google it. The Vial didn't send me what the product actually was. The Vial just is.
Love it. So if anybody's out there and they go, imagine that you go to the lady at the front of the store and say, excuse me there, I'm looking for a bit of thin penis. Can you help me out here? It's not as thick as some.
Now you actually know why Mr. Creole didn't want to eat that last thing when John Cleese goes, it's wafer thin.
It's wafer thin, exactly right. Absolutely love it. Very, very cool.
Now, this is a very interesting section of his supermarket because up the top there you can see bags of Vine fresh tomatoes.
Yeah.
You've got a refrigerator full of Pepsi. And then you've got some giant tangerines. Oh,
they're watermelons, obviously. I just realised that these are apples. And yes. What are these? There's some other. It's like Coca-Cola or something, is it? Oh,
it's Coke. Yes.
That would just confuse the crowd. If you're a tourist who where English wasn't your first language, you'd be struggling big time to sort of understand what's going on. So, yes, tangerines that look like watermelons, unbelievable, very very cool. Micah said yes, only £1. Nobody else wants it. I don't know, penis thins. What can I say? All right.
And here's some really interesting sections. You've got the entertaining fish section of the supermarket, as opposed to the boring fish section. The Vile likes to travel through the Asian section, but aisle 5 is Asian goods, 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 and Asian goods. So if you're looking for anything from the Far East, aisle 5 is the aisle for you. Now we get down to the bottom, and there's two interesting sections here: hanging cheese and wieners for kids. The hanging cheese. I don't know what they were thinking. Maybe it's just because the cheese is hanging on hooks, but I don't know why you would actually call the section hanging cheese. And wieners for kids, I guess some of those are wafer thin.
Well, it's back to the skinless Franks, dude. So there you go. Yes, entertaining. What do you reckon that was meant to actually say?
Maybe the entertainment section and the fish. I don't know. I really don't know what they were thinking with that one.
What you need to do is add in the Billy Bass fish that used to be on the shield and used to sing the song. Maybe that's what you're buying down there. So
yeah,
love it. Very very good. Yes, wieners for kids. Yes, because all good. What if girls are shopping down there? What's the deal with that? Anyway, let's move on.
Okay, well you've got the squeeze Wonder Wiener, and you can see there's one on the packet there that's actually squeezed itself and trying to escape. On the next picture, Dags, it's like just jumped off the shelf and it's coming off the shelf there. So you've got your squeezed Wonder Wiener, the stupid child efficiency mop. Again, probably a translation foul at some point there. And the poop up pool. Now, every kid needs a poop up pool, don't they? If you need to poop up something, a pool is as good a place as any to poop up.
Absolutely love it. So, yes, very, very cool. And if the water's looking a little brown, I would actually go and play something else. Very good. The fish is for entertaining when they're entertaining your guests. Absolutely love it, which is very, very cool. Yeah, Gavers, yes, the Wonder Wiener, it's definitely a sausage party, eh? And you look at it slides, it slips, slithers, try to hold it. Oh, make of that what you will, ladies. Oh, dear. But yes, I'm sure a lot of people can imagine mopping away stupid children. Yes, stupid child. It's like that's one way of sort of promoting a product, eh? So love it.
Stupid sign.
Very, very. And you do wonder. I agree with you. Yeah, with that thing hanging off the shelf just there, that's a variation of a skinless Frank. Don't you reckon they do?
It is. So these are all real items. There's green tea Buster Nut. Obviously in the nutsack section from earlier. Here's one of those sanitation gels, but it's really direct is what it's for. Maybe you touched your genitals.
Hand sanitizer. Or maybe you touched someone else's genitals.
Reach out and touch someone. And then if you're having trouble with insects, you've got the whack off insect repellent, which I don't know. You put that on, and away you go. You're whacking off the insects.
Hang on. So you wouldn't want to get your whack off, and maybe you touched your genitals mixed up, would you?
Well, then you end up busting a nut.
Yes.
Here's the interesting one: the Wiener Cleaner soap. And I find it very interesting, the shape of the Wiener Cleaner soap. I wonder how you use that. I wonder if you turn it over, if there is an instructional pictures on the back of how to correctly use the Wiener Cleaner soap.
Well, don't forget, dude. I mean, what's the definition of impressive? A guy who can carry 2 cups of coffee and 11 donuts.
And a Wiener Cleaner. And then there's another brand of hand sanitizer that is claims to be cleaner than shit hand sanitizer.
That is just so dumb, isn't it? I mean, really, what is the go with that?
Yeah, these are all real products too. So I don't know if some of them have just been translated literally and they don't realize how offensive it is, or some of them may be joke products that are there to offend and thus grab attention. I am not sure though.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, so I do like the whack off though. I'm going to say, can you pass me some whack off, please? Oh dear, absolutely fantastic. The vial is having technical sound issues. Yeah, I do tend to agree. That's probably a good thing, actually. Yes. The insect repellent is used by the armed forces. Yeah, whack off. Okay, whatever.
There you go. Well, if there's an expert on whacking off, we just got the words from him.
Absolutely love it. But yes, maybe you touched your genitals. Yes, I do wonder what the deal is with that. So yes.
Here's an interesting product, Oily Boy, the magazine for elder boys.
Oh, it is too. Oh God, Oily Boy. And why is a Popeye on there? What's the deal with that?
I don't know. It's a magazine, so maybe it's like it's obviously, I think, an Asian translation. So maybe it's an adaptation of English ones put into a Japanese or an Asian magazine. But Oily Boy, that's an interesting title for sure. Now you've got this detector across over here. Now this is an example of ill placement of wording because the company that made it is called Fag, and it's the Detector 3. But put them together and you've got the Fag Detector 3. Obviously from the people who made the Gaydar, I would probably say.
I do love that. It's like, what are you doing out there today? I just got to go and detect some fags. So,
yes. So I'm not sure what this product is. It's jizz hunting gel, trophy salts, bucking bat gelts. I'm really not sure what that one is, but it's an unfortunate name for a product. Do you have any idea on that one, Dags?
No idea. No idea.
And the middle one is actually a perfume. It's a beautiful perfume called Aftertaste.
Yeah, righto. How does that work? I mean, it's not like perfume is designed to be consumed. So
I imagine it's something where they've translated, because it's Asian. You can see you've got some of the characters there. It's probably they were going for something like alluring or memory, and they've just got aftertaste, which leaves a nasty taste in your mouth, really, especially if you've been using the jizz hunting gel. But the one that's really interesting here, you've got the child's predator hand.
Love it. And if you're not getting the predator hand on one side, you're getting the Freddy Krueger glove on the other side. So
yeah,
unbelievable. There you go. Thomas is losing his load over there, son. So I reckon you might need a bit of whack off, son. So be sure to check that out when you have a moment, which is particularly groovy. But yes, every kid needs a predator hand there, Mr. Aaron.
I would probably advise. Well, I don't feel comfortable you advising viewers to whack off while they're watching us, Dags.
Just go by the product, dude. What can I say?
Here we go. We've got pork boneless lion. So that's one of those products where they've obviously meant loin, but instead now you're getting exotic creature. And it's going into the pork event. So I don't know what that sign is meant to know, but meant beneath there either. But this supermarket's having a pork event.
Love it.
Here's an interesting sign. I don't know if you read through this one. Due to the refrigerator broke down, we have to replenish some product into different locations. We are working to resolve this issue as soon as possible. Sorry for any incontinence caused. Please ask any of the staff members of staff if you need any help. If I had incontinence in the middle of a shopping center, I would probably not be asking anyone for any help.
Yeah, that's where you need the I've touched your genitals soap or product for that. So, oh dear, there's always room for a bit of extra whack off there, Mr. Aaron. What do you reckon, old son?
With the incontinence, you probably need the wiener cleaner, don't you?
Maybe.
Talking about incontinent, defecation tea. And that's the only product I think I've ever seen with someone sitting on the toilet, like advertising a cup of tea. Very unusual. And then next to that, you've got the butt buddy. And the butt buddy is probably not what you expect. It's for holding your cigarette butts so you don't have to throw them away. But when you've got the butt buddy like that, it's probably best to read the fine print before you buy it and use it, because you might be doing the wrong thing from what you might be expecting to do. which is what you don't want to do when you finger Marie, because that's a brand of biscuits. And I guess it's a Marie biscuit, but it's a finger size one. But putting it in a product packet like that can be quite confusing and seem a bit rude to anyone who's got a bit of an imagination.
Well, it's like that old joke. It's discussing how the Scotch finger biscuits and the Americans root beer.
And now the Australian finger Marie. Everybody's
Anyway, we've continue on.
We've got the defecation tea, but down the bottom we've got urinal, that hot warm drink you want to take before you go to bed each night, right, Dags?
What is the deal, dude? What is the go? Unbelievable.
Well, it actually says it actually says, welcome back, Rob. We haven't seen you in a while. Urinal hot drink. I don't even know what to think that is. It's a tea type drink. And then lastly, for the ladies, placenta conditioner. It leaves your skin baby fresh.
That was so wrong, dude. I tell you what, eh? What is the deal with that?
I don't know.
Dear. Oh.
It's by LaBelle, one of those companies that it's probably highly reputable. I get reputable.
Unbelievable. That is absolutely fantastic. A placenta conditioner, eh? Because it lifts and separates. Absolutely fantastic.
Well, Dags, down that nutsack section, you'd probably get these products. My dad's nuts. Really says it all, doesn't it? Below it, you've got the nut twister.
Yep.
I guess that's for twisting your nuts if you ever need to get your nuts twisted.
Yeah, that's designed for when collectors want to buy more merchandise and the missus says, nah.
When you were growing up, what was your favourite type of gum? Was it Hubba Bubba or Bubble Yum?
I didn't chew gum, so neither.
Okay. Well, you probably didn't choose this then. This is hands-off anti-masturbatory gum. Now, that is a flavour that I really didn't know existed. Instant relief lasting up to 6 hours. Now, you go ahead.
And of course, if it doesn't work, you get to 5.5 hours. You got to start using the old "I touch my genitals" lib.
Yeah, well, we could have put those two together. That would have been quite low-hanging fruit, wouldn't it? And we've got the Darrow Lane retard capsules. Now, and they work up to 8 hours. Sometimes I think we both take these before we come on air, right, Dags?
Oh, geez, I tell you what. I'm looking for some retard capsules. You can interpret that many, many different ways. But yes, the hands-off. Yes, do you use that for yourself or for somebody else? So you do wonder what the deal is there, Mr. Aaron. So what are you trying to tell us about all these fantastic products there, Mr. Aaron?
I don't know what you're insinuating by that, but the Vile shopping trolley is full. It's full to the brim of amazing products that he's shared with us, and these products have now been well and truly violated.
How fantastic is that? Oh my God, I absolutely love it. So, oh dear, we don't need the capsules; they happen naturally. Very, very cool. Oh, love it. That is absolutely fantastic. You do wonder, don't you? Oh, goodness gracious me. All right, very, very good. All right, we're running a little bit behind schedule, so we're just going to play our straight. Yes, I remember this one from Gavin. Yeah, nibble Nobby's nuts before Nobby nibbles yours. Yes, I do remember that one. And that's the old nutsack thing from earlier on in the segment there, which is particularly cool. So,
do you know what would be very cool if they could have got the B-52s to do their ad instead of singing Love Shack, singing Nutsack.
There you go. Tin roof rusted. Exactly right. All right, it's time for us to move on and get the vile segment out of the way and move on to something that everybody can contribute their thoughts and views to. It is time for this. Ooh, baby, do you know that's what... All right, Mr. Aaron, what are we talking about in the eBay section of this evening?
Well, what I thought we would do is something we've never done before. We had an extra long news section of toys that are coming out, and most of these toys have existed in some form, one way or another before. So what I thought I would do is each one of our eBay items is related to one of the toys we saw that's coming out at Comic-Con. So I guess this is a Comic-Con related eBay guess segment.
Very good. And the first item that comes up, I've got to say, is very, very groovy. It's the old thing, Daybill. Tell us all about it, Mr. Aaron.
So this is the Thing Australian Daybill, and I've got to say, I don't remember this design here. Do you remember this one?
Yep.
You do?
I had this actually. Yeah.
There you go. Did you sell it? Is this your item?
Nah, I didn't. Look, I may have sold it years ago, but yes, I did see this. In fact, I even did a one-sheet version of this as well. And the interesting is, it's very hard to actually work out what this thing actually up here actually is. But yes, that was actually quite common. Yeah.
Well, there you go. So this is the Australian Thing one sheet. They're quite collectible, especially overseas. Lots of Australian collectors love them as well. The Thing is a really good movie because it's become a cult classic. So lots of people collect everything to do with it. How much do you think this poster would go for?
Very good. Ange chucked in 652 before the item come up, so we'll go with that. Collins at 55. Gavin's at 12. Michael, good to see Michael joining the show and jumping in on this segment. Is at 225. Moneybag Sullivan's at 300. Thomas at 225. Ads original, yes, it is. Rob 250. Rebecca's chucked in 25. Kelvin is at 100. What does everybody else think? So yes, Aaron is right. I mean, daybills are only manufactured in Australia, so there would be an interest in this overseas, which is particularly cool. So what does everybody else think? Adzi has gone for $1,250. Christy has gone for 145, which is particularly cool. All right. The Thing Daybill, original Australian movie poster. And the thing about daybills, you can never get them rolled. They've always got fold marks right there and there because that's how they used to send them to the cinemas. Was a bit unfortunate. And Marcus chucked in $1,100, which is very, very cool. All right. Rusky Babes has said sixpence. Yeah, exactly right. All right, Les, how much does it reckon it went for? Kids, it is used. The Thing Daybill from 1982. How much do you reckon it went for? It went for a whopping $170. Oh, they were chucking it away. What's the deal with that, Mr. Aaron?
I thought that was quite a cheap price for that poster. It is a hard one to get, and the Thing stuff is very desirable. So, yeah, I think whoever picked that up did quite well. Did you get more for yours when you sold it, do you think?
No, I can't remember. It was years ago, dude. Years and years and years ago. I think I may have had the one sheet of this rather than the daybill, but yeah, I had that design. Christy, I think you just got to cough up an extra, was it $25, and it is all yours. So well done to you, if I'm reading this right. Don't forget, I'm dealing with COVID here, kids, so I'm struggling to sort of see the screen properly. So if I do make a mistake, be sympathetic to me. Yes, Adzi bargain, and the price of that will probably just only go up. Anyway, next item. Oh, speaking of the old She-Hulk.
So, yep, She-Hulk #1, first appearance of She-Hulk. It is a particularly high-grade version. Now, this isn't a super old comic. She-Hulk is a more modern character. When I say that, it still goes back 50 years. But this is graded 9.8, which is a very, very high grading for a CGC-graded comic book.
Sorry? Oh, you still there?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. It just went quiet all of a sudden. Yeah, all right. So what does everybody think? She-Hulk 9.8. Oh, golly, wally. I like how it says white pages. In other words, if you need to find out her phone number, that's where you've got to look. All right. So where are we? Christy. Gavin's gone for 58. Ange has gone completely different, 4,500. Moneybag Sutherland's at 500. Rebecca's at 92. Michael's at 275. Adzi is at 250. Colin is at 565. Thomas is at 850. Rusky Babes 136. Kelvin is at 500. Oh, Greg King going the $2 in the garage sale. Oh, you hurt me, dude. Williams at 1,200. Mark is at 795. Christie's at 460, and Rob is at 3,500. And I agree with you. Good to see Rob back in the show again after all this time. 9.8. So the key thing about this is that its value will just continue to go up. So brand spanking new. All right, 9.8. That's like freaking off the production line quality. Number one, 9.8. How much do you reckon it went for, kids? It went for a whopping 1,000, say $500 round figures.
There's William. Does William get it at 1,200?
Oh my God, I'm having problems seeing the screen. Yeah, I think so. William, I'll keep looking. But anything you want to say about this?
Yeah, I again, this wasn't a super rare item though around for a while. It is a really hard to get a vintage comic book at that grade, though. I know a lot of people who think they've got mint items and they send them away and they come back at an 8 or something like that. So getting a 9.8 is about the best you're going to ever find that comic book in. So I don't know what they go for, but that seems a reasonable price compared to some of the crazy prices we've seen on comic books over the time we've been doing this.
And the funny thing is that if the movie ends up being a massive success, you could probably put it back on the internet again on eBay and make a profit on it. So there you go. Very, very cool. Michael says he jumped in. So he's got one. Oh, there you go, Michael. You can shout us all lunch, dude, if it's a $1,500 item. So there you go. Get into it. Okay, next item. Oh, bit of dull and dreary.
Yep. So this is an interesting one. This is advanced dull and dreary. Dungeons and Dragons. This is a box module set. So this is interesting because it's not the super early ones which go for a lot. It's one from more the 90s when Dungeons and Dragons wasn't as popular. But sometimes this stuff goes for a huge amount because no one was buying it, and then Stranger Things makes it popular again, and then no one can find this one when they try to get the set. So is this a cheap one or is this an expensive one? What do you think?
I've got absolutely no idea. So we'll see what everybody thinks. And everybody's thinking about this pretty hard. Angel said 32. Colin has said 250. Moneybag Sullivan is at 50. 50 cents. Oh, Michael, that's just not friendly at all. Gavin's at 575. Thomas, that's a ripper. 100,000. Okay, is that a real number? 1 million, whatever. Okay, it's a big ass number. If it's a lot of numbers in the end price, then it's clearly going to be yours. Robert said 25. Williams at 450. Adzi is at 250. Rebecca is at 724. Christie's at 105. And Kelvin is at 265. So, particularly groovy. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, Planescape, Planes of Conflict. This is going to be something that is specifically aimed at the D&D aficionados. And I agree with you. Stranger Things have brought those out into the open. All right. So what do you reckon, everybody? Do you reckon I went for a lot or absolutely nothing at all? They went for a whopping $1,100.
Yep. I was pretty surprised by that. This was going for more than some of the original sort of first edition 70s stuff. And it must just be what I was saying. During that period when role-playing games weren't that popular, it must have been one that was hard to get and they didn't print a lot of. And now they're popular again and people want one of everything. It's a hard one to get. Well done, Rebecca. You've got the advanced D&D box set.
You just got to cough up an extra $400, but otherwise, well done to you. Absolutely fantastic. So some people will be going, that's an absolute bargain. Others will be going, oh my God, what an absolute windfall. So who knows? But speaking of the old Avatar, what's the deal with this, Mr. Aaron?
Well, like I said, there isn't much Avatar merchandise. I couldn't find really anything interesting at all. There were some really freaky stuff. I don't know if anyone knows the newborn baby dolls. There are newborn baby Avatar dolls, which I was like, that is too creepy even for me to put on the segment. So I've just gone for the Avatar Blu-ray 3-disc extended edition, collector's edition, metal case, new and sealed.
You do wonder, don't you, in the era where Blu-rays are sort of starting to slowly drop off. But Andrew's gone for the $2. He's taken a leaf out of Greg King's book. Colin is at 55. Thomas, 2,250. What can do, dude? Michael said 98. Moneybag Sullivan's at 750. Rob is at 5. Williams at 10. And Avatar's sort of one of those defining movies, isn't it? Not everybody thought it was much chop, but of course it was the biggest, most profitable movie of all time up until the MCU stuff kicked in. So good old James Cameron was laughing all the way to the bank. I forgot where it was. Okay, Rob said 5. Williams said 10. Kelvin's at $1. Gavin's at $7.85. Adzi is at $1.50. Chrissy's not a fan of those dolls. So there you go. She got for $5. And Rebecca's at 42. So there you go. Blu-ray, surely. Even for Blu-ray collectors, it looks boring as all hell. It's just a metal case. It can't be worth that much. So what does everybody think it is worth? Good old Avatar. The sequels are coming out later in the year. Will this item increase in value once that occurs? Or are they just going to go in the El Cheapo bin? Blu-ray 3-disc extended collector's edition, which I assume is not that easy to find. How much did it go for? It went for a whopping $130, mate. What's the deal?
So I don't know. Physical media is on the way out, and Blu-rays and DVDs that come in collectors' tins, they still kind of got a bit of a following with people collecting them. I was really surprised. For me, this is like pick it up at cash converters for $2 kind of material. But there you go. There must be enough people after the steelbook edition of Avatar that there's a demand more than I thought it'd go for.
That's why I think maybe because it's an extended version, maybe the extended version is actually hard to find. So But yeah, it's a fair whack of dollars. It's not even like a fancy case or anything. So sometimes the novelty cases can push the value up, but just a steelbook. So there you go. Very good. I tried to get it, but it's like the unobtainium. I just couldn't find one anywhere. Very good. Oh, here we go. Look at this.
Now, here is the crown jewel of the evening. I'm telling everyone, you're not picking this up for $2 at Greg King's garage sale. This is the original version of the Eternia playset that we were looking at earlier. So one of the rarest and most desirable original 80s He-Man and the Masters of the Universe toys, not just figures, everything. This is one of those holy grail items for He-Man collectors. How much does a complete one of these go for?
24 bids as well. So indeed, Mark, I like that. 2,000 Eternian dollars. Absolutely. Moneybags has gone for 5,000. Colin is at 5,650. Rebecca is at 1,092. Yes, that is very, very good. Hang on, where are we? Michael is at 25,500. Thomas is at 800. Gavin is at 472. What does everybody else think? Sorry. Rob is at 3,000. Yes. Considering how big this thing would be and it's complete as well, you do think, why is this being sold off at this particular time? What's the motivation for it? And did they get their return on investment? Kelvin's at 1,200. William is at $4,500. I agree with the Adzi, a left arm and a lung and a kidney to pay for this. So, as I said, 24 bids. Christie is at 2,550. Very good. All right, so I imagine a lot of Mochi fans would have loved getting one of these, including yourself, dude. Had the opportunity presented itself.
Yeah, so I've had a couple of these, and I tell you what, the seller has listed the postage at $22. He is going to take a bath on the postage. Those things don't even go by Australia Post. You've got to get a courier. It's minimum about $200 to post just within Australia, that thing.
Yeah, they missed a couple of numbers in the postage. All right, so how much you reckon it went for? Motor the Master of the Universe, Eternia playset, 100% complete. It is used. 24 bids went for it. How much it went for? It went for a whopping $5,100. Oh, hang on. Moneybags has got this. He's just going to cough up an extra $100.
There you go. So there was a few people around 5,000 who know what this playset goes for. I've seen these go up and down, but these are not getting any easier to get, especially 100% complete. And that's the thing, because it has 1,000,001 pieces, not literally, but lots and lots of pieces in this to get it complete. So if you were going to get one, it's probably better to pay 5,000 and get it complete than get like half of one complete and track down the pieces, because often the pieces go for over $100 each just to complete the playset.
Absolutely fantastic. So that actually brings us to the end. I am starting to struggle. Yes, the hours are catching up. The COVID's catching up with me. So I will battle on. I'm not going to give up to the disease. So there you go. And the good thing is, after this, Aaron's going to be doing most of the talking, which is particularly cool. But before that actually happens, Idiot Me still has to say something. For those who don't know, if you want to join our socials to keep in contact with us, as a few people have done, feel free to do so with Instagram and Twitter and all these other very, very exciting things. So get yourself out there, send us some information if you want to talk to us, and it'll be very, very cool. Now, Mr. Aaron, I understand we've got our feature presentation. So what exactly are we discussing this evening?
It's a fantastic feature presentation for everyone who enjoys Gerry Anderson and everyone who loved part 1 of Thunderbirds memorabilia last week. And we advertised we're doing part 2 of Thunderbirds memorabilia this week. It's a bait and switch. We're doing Neighbours.
Woohoo! How good's this? Because everybody needs them. Is that right there, Mr. Aaron?
Absolutely. I knew you'd be happy with this. Neighbours, where everyone's a footstep away. But look at that. I even found a Moneybags clock for Moneybags.
How good is that? So why are we doing Neighbours there, Mr. Aaron? What's the deal?
Because Neighbours is shuffling off that mortal coil into the TV show graveyard of failed shows like Richmond Hill and Echo Beach and all of that. Hold on. Don't go anywhere, Colin. It gets better.
It does. Oh, look, where's the support from the crowd? I mean, we've got some awesome moments. Oh, what's the deal? Why were you talking about Neighbours there, old son? What's going on?
If you sell your Neighbours cards at the moment, like you can get 175 $100 for the cast cards, and like $25 for, I don't know, that no-name Kylie girl up there as well. Yeah, they did many Neighbours cards. Have you ever been on a Neighbours card, Dags?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe because, oh, look, I've actually been on Neighbours. How good is that? So if you think that I'm the coolest cat in town, not only was I a customer of Lassiter's, but I actually worked at Lassiter's as well. So I was a prison guard back over here. I was a prison guard there, and there I am there and all that. Oh, dude. So, and in fact, I heard a rumor that there's going to be cards made of me.
I know, it's fantastic. I mean, it's very hard to even find you in some of those episodes because you weren't even a featured extra. You were just an extra. I love the Moody prison guard reflection card. That one probably goes for quite a lot on eBay.
I like it. Many bags are saying, hang your head in shame. Well, as it turns out, this shirt appears in Neighbours on numerous occasions, but I could never find the episodes that it was in. But it is actually out there, which is particularly cool. Good old Neighbours. Oh, my God, you're killing me, dude. What's the deal with this?
Well, like there is a lot of merchandise associated with Neighbours. You can see if you want to buy the first early years, there's 7 DVDs. They're $1,000. That's what they've sold for on eBay. There's the Neighbours T-shirt shop online. My personal favourite is Toady, and Toady's got his own mug and his own T-shirt. But like I said, I found something for Moneybags. It's a Moneybags wall clock. What do you think of that, Dags? I mean, this can go on all night, can't it?
It can indeed, and for that reason, I think everybody's in agreement here that you've got to go because, yes, there's no room for Neighbours in this show. Everybody was interested and yapping on about the old Thunderbirds, and now that the show's mine, maybe we can do that. Hang on, what? My memory for being subscriptive, being an extra, like most kids from the area. Oh, well, there you go. I actually got to be directed and everything, which is kind of cool. Yes. Oh, no, my stuff was actually in the show, so which is very, very cool. All right. So, yes, we're going to be moving on because we aren't talking about Neighbours. It is actually, in fact, oh, is his animation thing gone? Here we go. Here we go. Look at that, kids. How good is this? Let's bring the lad back. Dude, what's the deal?
I promise I won't talk any more about Neighbours. That was a joke. We put that on just because Neighbours is ending and everyone's been coming to the shop this week going, oh, guess who's back on Neighbours? Oh, Neighbours is like got Margot Robbie back in it and it's got this and that and this and that. So I thought we'd put some Neighbours stuff there so it trends and we might get some more hits on it. We are, of course, looking at more of the fabulous merchandise that was associated with arguably Gerry Anderson's most famous show, Thunderbirds. Is that better than Neighbours, Dags?
Yeah, actually, Christy was asking about season and episode number. It was all about in 2019 before the COVID crisis hit, but I was a background in a few. I actually appeared in sort of cafes and all the rest of it, but I never got to see where the episodes were. I was just the dude in the background. But this shirt, believe it or not, I mean, who would wear a Hawaiian shirt on Neighbours? And yes, they picked that out because I think they thought that in England, because the show was really, really big in England, that the English said, oh, it's really, Australia is like a really, like a tropical sort of haven. And I think that's where the idea came from. But anyway, now, this is Kelvin. I should auction myself off. Well, not at the moment, because if you buy me, you're going to need a bit of whack off because COVID comes with it. So there we go. Oh, and oh, Jesus Christ. All right, I'm going to put this up, even though it's a little bit controversial, but it's true. I know the Neighbours lesbian from 20 years ago. I actually do know her, so I worked with her in a movie. So, yes, very, very cool. Good stuff. Where are we? Yes, we talked about this guy. So this is mentioned from last week, Kelly, the guy from Adelaide who ended up buying the original puppets.
Yeah, so Jethro put up, I don't know if he's here tonight, Jethro put up that one of his friends he knew collected Thunderbirds and grabbed a couple of the original marionettes. I'm using all the wrong words this week. And I have an extensive newspaper and cuttings collection, and I actually had the cutting with him in, and when he mentioned that, I thought, oh, I'll pull that out and get it out. And I remember I collect mainly cuttings from Doctor Who, but I do like when a newspaper or anything features someone who's a collector and has pictures of their collection. So I think this was from TV Week or something like that, because it was related to Thunderbirds. But yes, so 2 original Thunderbirds marionettes have wound up in Australia, and they're in South Australia in a local collection, which is really quite nice to know, isn't it?
Yeah, so Kelly, as I said, he was a friend of Jeffro's. He specifically said he did not want the puppets to stay in the UK. He wanted them in Australia because he wanted, because Thunderbirds were so big here. he put a lot of money into the auction. It was like it wasn't online because there was no online auctions back then. But yeah, it was one of those things he said, like, I didn't want to discuss how much they cost, but having the real screen used thing is like, yeah, that is particularly groovy. So he had Brains and Tintin, if I recall correctly. So yeah.
Also, someone came into the shop and corrected me on something I said last week, so I have to bow my head in shame. Now, you know how we talked about how Thunderbirds was on Channel 9 for years and years and years, and they bought the rights for it forever, and I said it's not on anymore. It is still on 9 Peach at 5 a.m. every Saturday morning, and they're up to episode 2 of season 1 last Saturday. So they are still flogging the Thunderbirds every week on Channel 9. So you can get up super early and relive your childhood if you so wish to.
Very cool. Michael made a point about saying that Kelly's a great bloke. I've only met him once, and he was a nice guy, and he actually had a really good Thunderbirds collection. And he said apparently that Tintin and Brains are in a bank vault. So I certainly don't. That doesn't surprise me in the slightest. So
it's interesting. That article, they asked him how much did they cost, and he refused to say. But I tell you what, I bet they are worth many, many times a couple of extra zeros on the end now. They would have been a massively good investment the way popular culture has gone.
Yeah, and wouldn't it be funny if you said, "Oh, I'm watching a particular episode of the show, and that's the physical, that Brains and that Tintin, that's the actual one that I have right here." It's like that is a very, very cool thing.
So, you know what? He probably sits Tintin on his lap and watches the episode and go, "Look, that's you, that's you."
Very, very cool. Good stuff.
Now we're going back to the 60s to begin with, because last week I think I mentioned I had a Thunderbirds collectible card slide, and it somehow got missed. So before we get into the toys and things, this is some of the stuff we missed from last week. Now, there were a couple of different 60s Thunderbirds sets. There's the black and white one, and there's some color cards as well. What I found really interesting, they're very hard to find, but there's a set of Thunderbirds chocolate bars. Remember when you used to get chocolate bars and they might be the Yogi Bear bar and it was just a bar of chocolate, but it had a silver picture of Yogi on it and all these other things? Well, there was actually a Thunderbird set, and until I was researching for this episode, I had never seen them before. They turned up on a Instagram account, which I thought was very cool to someone still to have them.
Very good stuff. Now, as I said, I'm going to let you do most of the talking on this one. Yep.
No problem. So this week, because we did a lot of the 60s stuff last week, we're looking still at the 60s, but also on the modern stuff, and some of the modern stuff to begin with based on the 60s show, because there are different versions of it now. And I do remember when this set came out in Minotaur, I saw it for the first time and I collected it myself, the ones with the orange packets on the left. And I was absolutely thrilled because there was no Thunderbirds merchandise for years and years and years. I think there was the fan magazines and things like that. Most fandoms kind of produce one. Thunderbirds was particularly good because it was a color one and a bit cut above the rest. But in the early 90s, we were talking last week, they showed Thunderbirds again on BBC Two. So it went across to the BBC and it was a massive smash hit. And there were more toys and cards and books and everything came out again. So the last slide was the 60s card, and these are cards, and these are some of the 90s and more modern cards. And it spins me out that the 90s is now 30 years ago anyway. And when I was collecting stuff in the 80s, the 60s was only 20 years ago, and it seemed like ancient. So the 60s now, surprisingly because of the internet, is more available than it was in the 80s when you would have to mail order stuff. Now you can get on eBay UK, type in Thunderbirds, and you can find a million times more, not literally, in 1 week than you could have writing off to everyone who was dealers in the 80s. It's just incredible.
Absolutely fantastic. Daniel has said, Moneybags has said about the chocolates are probably in someone's fridge like a certain Batmobile. Well, I was actually inspired by the idea for that by a guy who had Thunderbirds ice creams in his fridge apparently back in the 60s and had them there for, I don't know, a dozen years, 10 years, 15 years. He was so afraid of getting a power outage that he ended up selling them and made tens of thousands of dollars. So that was where mindset came from.
I'll tell you something tragic. There's a big Doctor Who collector named Mick Hall, and he collected Thunderbirds and a lot of the 60s TV shows as well. And he was telling me a year or two ago, he had all these lollies and chocolates and stuff from Thunderbirds and different shows, and they were kept really well packed up in the attic. And then about a year ago, he went up there and the mice had gone in and eaten a lot. So when these things are very hard to get, so when you find like mice or something have eaten them, it's really, really tragic. But that happens sometimes when you've got such a big collection, it can't all be in the house.
Yeah, every chomp, that's an extra chick-ching, chick-ching. So you're not hearing, what you hear is chick-ching, 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 chick-ching. So they're very, very cool. One of the things that was particularly groovy about things that are going on in the 70s, and of course everybody remembers these when they were out and about, is the old dinkies. Dinky toys, mate. Ooh.
Yep, so Dinky Toys, well, one of the most popular British toy companies. They go back 100 years and they produce toys, not just TV and movie related stuff. They've produced just about every car you could imagine, and they've still released stuff. And one of their big mainstays, though, when you release cars, you often release something for a season and for a year because that's when it's available. But Thunderbirds and Gerry Anderson stuff, some of these things were available from the same molds in different versions for 20 years because they were that popular and they were that much loved by kids, to the point where, you know, they crossed a generation and people who grew up with them were then buying them for their kids. What can be harder than finding the toys is some of the paperwork associated with the toys. So before we look at the toys, here are some of the vintage catalogues from the day which highlight some of the amazing Gerry Anderson items. And we haven't looked at Captain Scarlet and some of those other ones yet, but we will be looking at that in the future. And one of my favourite items is there, which I have never owned myself, and that's the Prisoner mobile from the series Prisoner, which I've only ever seen a couple of times in Australia, but worth noting because we probably won't do an entire show on the Prisoner down the track. Fantastic artwork. You've got the catalogue there with the picture from UFO, and then in the Gerry Anderson section you've got Captain Scarlet and Thunderbirds and a couple of other shows, Joe 90 and some of the more popular stuff. And they released these catalogues year after year, and they were a mainstay of the catalogues. So we're going to talk about the green and the blue versions of the Thunderbird 2.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. One of the things that can be very, very groovy is when a company produces products like Dinky and Corgi did too, and the quality is really good. So it's not just knocked out rubbish. It looks like what it's meant to look like. And when that happens, you go, you know what? Even as a kid, you go, that is particularly cool. And sometimes even later versions, decades later, just don't cut the mustard in terms of, one, the collectability, and two, just the detail and the love and the passion that went into it. So yeah, totally agree with you. Speaking of which, the old Thunderbird 2.
So the original Thunderbird 2, is probably one of the greatest toys ever produced, the original Dinky toy. When we do these things and look at different toy lines, often I say there's an exceptional toy. With Thunderbirds, there were quite a few exceptional toys, which I would say, if you were a toy historian, you would have to put it sort of in your top 500 or your top 100 best toys ever. And this is such a good toy because it's a spaceship. It's a futuristic design. It still looks futuristic, even though it was designed in the 60s. You could imagine something like that being built today. It was part of an iconic show. As we said, there was something for everyone in Thunderbirds because all the ships were different colors. All the ships looked totally different. So whatever you were into, Thunderbirds provided something that you could identify with. This was the original release of Thunderbird 2, and it's the classic green one with the red engines and stuff. And you can see just on the right there, you've got another version which still looks green, but it's more in a metallic bluey green than the classic green from the show. Now, when Thunderbirds was originally shown, most people didn't see it in colour because it was in the mid-60s when no one had colour TVs, and it was primarily filmed in colour because they wanted to sell it to America, and it kind of future-proofed it a bit as well because these days you don't see much black and white on TV, but Thunderbirds being colour is still something that gets repeated on Channel 9. So they did make different versions of Thunderbird 2, as we can see in this next slide.
Okay, yep, it's all right. I was going to say something, but yep, we'll move on. Yep.
Where you've got a blue version of Thunderbird 2, and it's actually easier to get the blue version of Thunderbird 2 than the green version as a Dinky toy. For years and years before there were reissues, when I was growing up, you would go to toy fairs and record fairs, and there would always be a Thunderbird 2, but it was always the blue metallic one, and the green one was super hard to get and went for about 3 times as much. You can see here, that's another Dinky catalogue, and what a fantastic catalogue that is, where you've got the Star Trek and the UFO and the Space 1999. So this is obviously a bit later, but it's still got Thunderbird 2 in production. Do you know why they changed it from green to blue?
I think it's a market research thing, if I'm not mistaken. And I do find it interesting. One of the things I always found about Thunderbird 2 is the fact that the wings are facing the wrong direction. And I think it was
Yes.
Derek Mannings or one of the visual effects guys just did it just to be different. And yeah, even though it looks a bit unusual, but it works the design. But I think that's what you're bringing up here.
Yeah, so they did market research, and it showed that boys did not like green toys. Thunderbird TV series production had ended in 1966, so it's all probable that the colour match to the original TV prop was not important when kids bought the model because they had never seen it in colour. It was only colour in comic books and stuff. And as you can see, there's some weird colours that have turned up as well. This is a real one that turned up, a yellow one. It's not a repaint by a Tigers supporter, although they could have used help from International Rescue last weekend, couldn't they? And then you've got the blue one that has the white bottom instead of a totally blue one. So there are variants of Thunderbirds. I have to say I've never seen a yellow one for sale, though.
Yeah, you can imagine. Yep, totally agree with you. But if flying ships weren't your thing, then get back to land because it's time for a bit of pink roller.
So the other one that, again, Dinky Toys produced and was part of their staple for years and years and years is Lady Penelope's Fab 1. This is interesting because even though this was incredibly popular and sold as squillion, this is much, much harder to get than Thunderbird 2. And I do wonder if that's because a rocket from Thunderbirds is more likely to be collected by boys and held on to. I came from an era where I wouldn't go into the girls section and I would not buy anything pink. I've said this before. When I was collecting He-Man figures, the She-Ra cartoon came out before the toys. All my friends at school were like, oh, can't wait for the She-Ra toys, going to buy a She-Ra. Then she came out on a pink card and she was in the toy section. We were like, nah, pass on that. So even though I think Thunderbirds was quite revolutionary on having a character that girls could identify with, and she was a strong character and had unique gadgets and an amazing car, I don't think a lot of boys would have got it just because it was pink.
Yep, no, especially in an era where pink is for girls and blue is for boys. End of story. And I tend to agree with you. So, although ironically, some of them may have looked at the car and go, "Oh, that looks absolutely awesome. That's grouse. I really love it." You know, I'm a big fan, especially in England. I'm a big fan of Rolls Royce. But they would say, "Yeah, pink not happening for me, son." So
we did do an episode on movie cars, and we looked at Lady Penelope's as one of the iconic movie cars. And we did see in Japan you could get kits, and there were blue versions of it. So obviously they'd done the market research there and decided, give an option, a pink one for girls and a blue one for boys. And the same thing, I think, when you were watching it in black and white, you wouldn't have known it was a pink Rolls Royce. So it didn't really matter too much at the time either.
Wouldn't that be funny? You're a kid watching it on a black and white TV and you go, "Oh, I've got to get one of those Rolls Royces." You go to the store and go, "Why is it pink? Whose idea was that? Where's the other colours?" So, yes, it's an interesting sort of conundrum.
You know what?
So, whereas these days it wouldn't be an issue.
It was white, but someone put it in the wash with Thunderbird 3.
There you go. Speaking of the Thunderbird ships, here they are.
So these are original 60s toys as well, and these are absolutely beautiful items. These are very, very hard to get boxed, and if you do find them even out of box, they're very, very hard to they're very, very hard to get without any damage because they were very brittle plastic. When you get the Dinky toys, you do see them a lot more because they're die cast, so they tend to last a bit better if you lob them at your brother's head, where if you lob this Thunderbird 2 at your brother's head, it'd snap three struts off and probably break in half. So these are a lot harder to find. Thus,
hang on, I'm going to cut you off. When you said, "Oh, if you lob this at your brother's head, you'd probably break," and I was thinking, "Oh, what, break a few vertebrae or a couple of cranial cavities?" Not the ship itself.
Yes. So yeah, these are a lot harder to get, and they are absolutely lovely toys. Yes. So the Rolls Royce is, I think, everything in Thunderbirds. Even though it was a TV show that probably was pumped out as quick as it could because of the pressure of making stuff in those days, the design work is absolutely amazing. And not only, they didn't come out with just one iconic item, They produced
Yeah.
about half a dozen iconic vehicles, half a dozen iconic characters. Everybody knows the Thunderbirds theme. It's cross generations. For a kids show from the UK, there's not much more popular than this. Maybe Doctor Who, but it's a family show. But I wouldn't think, even in America, it's known now, thanks to the movies and the CG show that we have at the moment.
Yeah, well, the bottom line is that kids, and especially young males, hardware is their thing. Ships and cars and rockets and all that sort of stuff, as opposed to, as we said like last week, where you had Stingray was just one item and Supercar was just one item. Here you got a plethora of hardware to play with. If you don't like that design, go to that design. And if you don't like that color, go to that color. So, and it's ingenious from a marketing perspective. It really, really was.
Absolutely. Here we've got some of the model kits. And it was one of those things where I could have, taken each one of those and done a separate slide with it, and we could have looked at all the different models. But we're looking at so many, toy Thunderbirds, it would just sort of be repeating the same thing over and over. These are Japanese kits. The thing I love about the Japanese stuff is it usually has different artwork from the UK stuff. It's always stunning. It always looks absolutely amazing. Very dynamic pictures, very collectible, because when you get a model kit, you put it together, which means usually the box is gone or the box is damaged or you don't get a complete kit. And you can see you've got Thunderbird 1, Thunderbird 2, Thunderbird 3, 4, which you get with 3. You've got the mole, and then you get the space station, which is number 5 as well. Then you could get actually Thunderbird 1 and Thunderbird 3 in their sort of launch pads and docking bays, which is really great if you're a model maker. I know Russell is an expert model maker, and I'm sure he would agree. It's really cool to do a ship, but when they actually make the play set and diorama that you can put it in, that's a whole extra level for model makers, and you can enjoy customizing it and painting it and putting up a display that has a background. So that's fantastic. And I found that picture of Thunderbird 5 there. Now, out of all the Thunderbird toys, Thunderbird 5 is the one that is the least produced and seems to be the hardest to find, and thus collectors are always ringing stores going, have you got Thunderbird 5? And Michael's right there. These kits, like a lot of kits from the 60s that people grew up with, they get re-released quite a bit. So the original ones, of course, still hold their value for collectors. And there is always that sort of argument, what is worth more, a mint-in-boxed unused one or someone who's painted it studio accurate so you've got an absolutely amazing kit, because both go for huge prices to different collectors. So because you can still get these ones, they're quite a nice collectible toy, and usually they reissue the same artwork as they originally came out with in the 60s.
William's on the right track here, and that's the problem with Thunderbird 5. It just sits there, doesn't do anything. And you are right. It's like, I want the things that go fast and, fly around and cars and all this sort of stuff. And it's like Thunderbird 5, it just hangs there and you go, yep, boring. So I can understand why it wasn't the most widely marketed of the ships. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Alan up on Thunderbird 5 got to use the wiener cleaner quite a bit. Many long days of doing nothing but monitoring Earth, right? So,
yeah, well, if he started using the whack off, I'd be wondering what the deal was. But anyway, move on.
So we've talked about how it was kind of revolutionary that they repeated the Thunderbirds in the 90s, and that caused another wave of Thunderbird mania. In fact, I looked at some videos to show about that, because you can find them on YouTube, but they do what I hate when news ever looks at any area of fandom. What did they call the Thunderbird fans, do you think, Dags, just off the top of your head?
Birds, maybe? I don't know. That's a good question.
Thunder nerds.
Hey, Thunder nerd.
Thunder nerds.
Oh, okay. You're going to interpret that many different ways.
Well, they were calling, like, it happens a lot whenever the mainstream media look at collectors or a group of people into media. They're often derogatory. So I thought, well, we're not going to show any of that then, because you went that direction. But there is a lot of news articles on the Matchbox stuff, and the Matchbox stuff is pretty amazing. Again, they are an amazing set of toys and an amazing toy line that came out in the 90s, but really capture the original 60s look and feel of the Thunderbirds. And if the Dinky Toy Thunderbird was a good toy, the Matchbox Thunderbird was equally as good. And these caused a lot of problems for parents because Thunderbirds were actually the biggest toy in England, I think, for 91, 92 Christmas. Where Matchbox advertised them and they instantly sold out, and they underproduced them because they didn't realize that the appeal of them was going to be much more than they actually expected, which is like, the whole thing with Tickle Me Elmo and Furbies and Cabbage Patch Kids. But who would have thought it for Thunderbirds?
Indeedy doody die. Now, there's a big question from Gavin asking about Tracy Island, which we'll get to in a tick. But in the interim, we're still sticking with our ships.
Yep, so this is some of the Matchbox releases, and again, one of the best toy sets you're ever going to get is that Matchbox collector's set that has all of the Thunderbirds and Fab 1 die-cast in a presentation box. And there's two versions of it. There's the original one that was released on the top left there, and then there's the same thing produced in a Radio Times, I think it was the 50th or 40th anniversary, which was basically the same thing promoted again through Radio Times. They are absolutely fantastic toys. And the great thing about them is they're good enough that if you're an adult collector, you can sit them on the shelf and you go, they're really good representations of the Thunderbirds. And if you're a kid, they've got enough, moving parts on Thunderbird 1, and then you've got the pod in the middle of Thunderbird 2 that comes down, and the Thunderbird 4 comes out, and then you've got the Thunderbird 3. There was also, I have never seen one, I've only seen them online, a gold-plated edition of the Matchbox set as well, which I would probably think is quite rare. I couldn't find much information or sold items on eBay. So unlike those gold-plated Star Wars micro machines that were limited to bazillions, the Thunderbird ones do seem to be quite collectible.
Michael made a point of saying that you couldn't get a Thunderbird Island, Tracy Island, for love nor money. And speaking of which, here's one right here.
Well, this is the Carlton version, because the amazing thing that happened with Thunderbirds, it was popular in the 90s, and then 10 years later they repeated it again, and the whole thing happened again. And it came out, I think this is about 2000, 2001. Carlton, not Matchbox, reissued the Thunderbirds toys. They did the talking dolls. They did another set of the ships. I don't think the small ships are as good because they're more plastically. They do talk though, which is a nice feature. And they did Tracy Island again, and again it sold out, and again it was impossible to find. And they did a few different versions. So when it originally came out, it was Tracy Island, and you had to buy all the vehicles separately. And then the following year, they reissued again, and they reissued it with all the vehicles, which I think is probably more of a nice touch for kids. It might cost more, but to get the whole set in one go is pretty awesome. But then they also did large-scale versions of Thunderbird 1, 2, and 3, which are classic ships. They sort of hark back to the larger versions from the 60s, and they are all fantastic toys as well. And whenever you see them, we get them in the shop from time to time, they go really fast. And the interesting thing about Thunderbirds toys, they go to Thunderbirds collectors, but you'll also get people in who just remember Thunderbirds from their childhood. And they'll go, oh my goodness, you've got Thunderbird too. That was my favorite toy growing up. And they buy it again. So Thunderbirds really does have that sort of nostalgic hold on people. And I do think it is to do with Thunderbirds was about helping people, wasn't about, shooting people and going to war or all those other things. And because of that, I think that sort of moral edge to the show hooks kids at a younger age, when kids are more innocent and like people helping people and like that kind of drama. And even though it seems maybe old-fashioned and quaint now, you can still watch the original Thunderbirds and it has a lot of charm. It is a little bit slow. It's a 50-minute show, but it's still a fantastic show. And any day of the week, I'd watch the original over the new version.
Yeah, exactly right. Now, you're talking about the island earlier. Well, when products are cool when they have their own TV commercials.
Thunderbirds are go with new Soundtech Tracy Island.
Thunderbird 1, I'm on my way. I hope we're not too late, Father.
Gee, this is a tough one.
Looks like a job for Thunderbird 2.
International rescue, we're on our way.
Let's get down there.
FAB, Virgil.
Another great rescue for Thunderbirds. Soundtech Tracy Island.
So yeah, we're going to look at Tracy Island, and again, it is one of those toys. This is the Matchbox one. When it originally came out, was fantastic. Collectors were looking for it, even though it was released for kids. Kids couldn't get it because collectors obviously went in and cleared the shelves out. It was originally released at £30, which was an expensive toy at the time, but is actually quite good value for what you get. The Thunderbirds Tracy Island, I think, is a fantastic and iconic toy because it captures really well all of the elements within the TV show that kids remember. If you ask someone who hasn't watched Thunderbirds for 30 years what they remember the Thunderbird countdown and the Thunderbirds taking off, and most particularly they remember the palm trees flipping over. And for them to be able to replicate that so well in a toy, it's better than some toys that come out today. People remember Thunderbird coming out from under the swimming pool. So they have, of course, done the thing where the Thunderbird comes out from under the swimming pool. And the other thing is Thunderbird 3 launching through the donut, which was the offices. And I always thought that must be so well reinforced, because a rocket going through the middle of that every couple of days, you'd probably just shake it to bits. The other thing that's impressive, it is a big toy. You get your value for money. It isn't a rinky-dinky little thing. On the back there, you can see it really well advertises all the different features that came from the that came with the toy. So each element of the toy adds playability to it. And then Matchbox were really smart because, of course, they didn't sell the ships with it. So you buy the island, and of course you have to buy the ships because the island is a good toy, but you need the ships to go with it. And you don't just need one of them, you need all of them.
Exactly. Gavin asked earlier on about on the island. It's a good question. Are the trees meant to be fake, as in like in the actual show themselves, because the trees obviously move by the real ones? So it's like, I don't know if anybody really knows that one.
When you look at the show, it looks like they are real palm trees because they are planted in big root balls that sort of are on individual, tilt things. I don't know. It is a fantasy show, so we're not sure. It's probably, I think they're meant to be real palm trees that are probably reinforced to stay in the ground when they go up and down. Who can tell? It is an iconic image, and it is something that everyone remembers. And the really annoying thing about this playset, whenever it turns up secondhand, there's always one frickin' tree missing. Always one tree missing.
I mean, the idea that the ship is coming out and you got the trees and you go, well, that clearly isn't going to fit because the wings are too big, and the trees just move out of the way and you go, oh, that's just genius. What a grouse idea that is. So very, very cool. Excuse me.
So
you start.
Controversially, we're skipping the movie and going straight to the new series. The movie didn't have a lot of merchandise, wasn't that well received. The only thing I liked about it was they used the original theme. They redesigned the toys too much. And the only people that like the toys? 3-year-old kids that think they're getting toys from the series or the CGI series, because no one really likes the movie. Sorry if anyone's watching this who likes the movie, but it's one of those areas we're just going to sort of skip over. Thunderbirds came back, and it came back being made by Weta and Peter Jackson's studio in New Zealand, and it was quite an announcement because something like Doctor Who came back, and there's been other franchises like Battlestar Galactica that's come back. And during that sort of nostalgia wave where studios look for different things to be able to bring back and be instantly popular, there's a lot of stuff to grab. But Thunderbirds, even though it was 2 series and a couple of movies back in the 60s, it really had multi-generational fans because that original show was so good, had so many episodes and was so well done that it had gained fans every generation. So when it came back, there was a big, oh no, they're bringing it back and it's CG. It can't be as good as the original. Excuse me. So I remember going to Toy Fair. I haven't got any photos because they had a probably 3 or 4 meter Thunderbird 1 suspended from the roof, and the toy they produced was Tracy Island, which is of course about 3 times as big as the original Tracy Island, and they had all the ships and all the figures and everything was ready to go before the show had even, started playing. So obviously, whatever they had shown to the people who were going to be merchandising this must have been pretty good. So Thunderbirds hit the toy shops at the same time as the show, which is quite unusual because usually there's a year difference. And it sold actually quite well. The Tracy Island didn't sell so well because it was so big, it kind of priced itself out of the market for kids. But all the spaceships sold, the figures didn't. It is one of those interesting things when they relaunched the show. I think the design of the spaceships wasn't changed too much. So the iconic shape of the vehicles and the colors and the silhouette, which is probably the most important, was there. But what was lacking, I think, is the charm of the original marionette. So when you've got CGI, no matter how good the voice artists are, they can't sort of capture the original charm of the original show. So it is a good kids show. Is it like the most amazing kids show? No, because there are many, many kids shows that use CGI. And as soon as you use CGI in something, everything is at the same level because everyone has the same technology. So what still sells is what was popular, the spaceships, and they are the things that sold. We've got some of the new versions in the shop, and they don't sell like 10 to 1 compared to the original. We've got both versions of Tracy Island. I think I've sold 2 of the original in the last couple of years and none of the new version. But we're going to have a look at some of the new version merchandise because there is a lot of it, and a lot of people wouldn't even realize how much was produced. Have you seen much of this around, Dags?
No, not at all. No.
So as I said, there was a huge push in Toy Fair. Melbourne Toy Fair is the trade fair where you go along and see what's coming out for sort of the next 12 months. And I was actually shocked that there was so much Thunderbird stuff. And I thought, they can't sell this. This is a cult program. But boy, I was wrong. When Toys R Us was still around, there was a Thunderbirds aisle, and Kmart and Target had Thunderbirds aisles. And, for a while there, it was really unusual to see this old show that had come back and was sort of everywhere again. Now, the thing that's different between toys now and toys back in the 60s, there wasn't action figures in the 60s. Star Wars were really the first action figures at that scale. And so this was the first time you had really, there was, I guess, the Matchbox ones, but really you had action figures for the Thunderbirds that had different accessories and different action sort of, what do you call it? I've dried. I'm missing the word. Just different action for each figure, and so these were quite popular. As I said, probably not as popular as the originals, but they sold among kids, which is interesting because a lot of toys these days just sell to adult collectors. I mean, we've talked about it before. You go to Big W and the toy section looks like an 80s toy section because it's all reissues of 80s toys. But Thunderbirds, the new show, is actually a show that sells quite well to kids. So they're obviously doing something right to attract that audience. I watched a couple of them, and because, I'm an old fart who likes the original, I didn't think much of the new version. But we do get a lot of kids come in who know the Thunderbirds from this version, and they merchandise to that, and they merchandise globally. And one of the places, of course, Thunderbirds does quite well is in Asia and Japan and some of those countries. And they probably produced more Asian stuff during this era to their market than they did in the previous 30 or 40 years. And there was a bit of Thunderbird stuff. You do see the model kits and other little toys, and weird stuff turns up that I've never seen before once in a while. But they really pushed with the new series to capture this market. And they really did produce a lot of really interesting collectibles. Are they stuff that I would collect? Probably not, but it just shows you the broad appeal that an old 60s show rebooted can actually have, and not just in England and America where it was originally sold, but all over the world. And you can see there you've got games and toys and play sets, and there's even one of those sort of toys for kids, sort of a little train set, which you'd get for Thomas the Tank Engine, but you've got like a Thunderbirds version of it, which I thought was quite interesting. And it goes right through all the different media of collectibles to stickers and puffy stickers and colouring books. And the one thing the original Gerry Anderson stuff did, it licensed really well, and you would get comic books that supported toys and figures and books and records and things like that. Well, I don't know if the different licensees supported each other. There was definitely a broad range of merchandise available for the reboot of Thunderbirds, possibly more than the original.
Very good. And of course, if you're a dude out there who's got some little ones, there's something for them as well.
So, yeah, there really was everything. And I think this is what the original Thunderbirds probably didn't merchandise, because it probably wasn't as big in the 60s as it is now, where you can accessorize everything with your favorite show. But you can see there are pool toys there, not poop-up pools, but real pools. And you can see that they've had it with Star Wars and a couple of other things, but an inflatable Thunderbird 2 in the pool. How cool is that? You could probably get that Thunderbird 3, and if you're heavy enough to drop it to the bottom of the pool, you could let go and recreate the Thunderbird launching out of the pool, which would be pretty cool.
Or you get the kid and you dress him all in yellow, and he becomes his own Thunderbird 4. But you got to make sure he's got a breathing apparatus, otherwise it's not going to end well.
Well, I'll tell you what you could do. You could get that backpack, which is Thunderbird 4, stuff him in that, and then throw him in the pool and see what happens.
Love it.
We're always thinking on this show. But you can see there is just an array of stuff that wasn't around in the 60s. So there's apparel, and there was a broad range of everything from T-shirts to nightwear, tracky dacks, pullovers. And then you can see there was even a bedding section where you could get Thunderbirds bedding, which is pretty cool. I don't know if Tennille would let me get like a Thunderbird set for our bed, but there you go.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, if you were to get a Thunderbird swimming pool, mate, I'd be jumping in there with you.
Well, yeah. Can I be Lady Penelope?
Yes, my lady. Yes, my Aaron.
Oh, well, that's the dream, isn't it? But it is one of those things, I think that's right, where they release so much stuff, it isn't actually a collectible. It's something that's branded that collectors often would find a drag to have to buy, because, if you're a completist, you want to buy all this stuff, but do you really need a child's lunchbox or bedding sheets or the hoodie towel there that you can see? And I think that's what happened. They did have the kids' suits back then. All of that stuff is incredibly rare to get. I can't remember the Lady Penelope set. We did do a lot of the Thunderbird 60 stuff last week, but there was just too much stuff to cover everything. And that's what I found this week as well. We really don't want to do 4 or 5 shows on Thunderbirds because although there's that much merchandise, there's probably just time to look at some of the highlights. But I was going to say, this is what probably happened with you with Batman, where the first couple of movies were good and had a good level of merchandise, and then you were buying stuff for the sake of buying it because they slapped Batman on everything.
Pretty much. Absolutely. You got sucked in by the logo. Gavin asked a question about the show, how the space station Thunderbird 5 appear. Was it launched, built to build in the space? It would have been probably launched. I mean, they got all these ships that can fly just about everywhere. It wouldn't be too hard to take a ship up into space, just drop good old Thunderbird 5 off and chuck a dude in it. And you go, all right, off you go.
Well, when Thunderbirds was originally made, it was meant to be 100 years in the future. So I guess if you're looking at technology now, it's only about 40 years ago, they would have launched each of the Thunderbirds up with a different part of Thunderbirds 5, assembled it like the International Space Station, and then stuck the most annoying of the brothers up there so they didn't have to ever see him again.
Absolutely love it. Oh, look at Gavin. I mean, Mr. Picky, the inflatable Thunderbird 2, that's the swimming pool, has the wrong wings. Oh, dude, mate, if you're a collector, you wouldn't know. It'd still be in the box. Who cares? Imagine that saying, oh, I'm going to chuck my kid. Oh, sorry, the wings are incorrect. Sorry, little Johnny, you're going to have to go and play outside. And, all his friends are in the pool having a whale of a time. The dodgy wings, dude. You can't get sucked into that. So,
you know what you say when you see, like, the kids sitting in the corner of the pool drowning? Calling international rescue.
The irony of that. That's the irony of that, eh? Yeah, so he actually died. He drowned and was drowning in the Thunderbird 2 pool. So, yes, very, very cool. And this is actually our last image, believe it or not, which is we're going a little bit left of center of this one.
Yeah, so, Thomas, if you can hang around for 3 more minutes, we'll probably wrap up early as well tonight. But, Yes, this is one of the things that they haven't ever done, which is Thunderbirds Lego. But have we looked on Lego ideas over the course of the show? Anything that's been really interesting that's been submitted, especially genre stuff, we have actually highlighted. And there has been some amazing suggestions for Thunderbirds Lego. So you can see there's the Thunderbirds mini vehicles where you get a full-size figure and a little tiny version of the Thunderbird sort of that they can sit in. And then underneath that, there's actually full-size Lego Thunderbird vehicles made that can fit like the full-size Lego figures in. And there's been spaceships and Thunderbird 5 and launch bays and all that kind of peripheral stuff that you can do with Lego. But most interesting in the center there is one of the displays from one of the older Brickventions, and that was actually made by one of our friends, MPS. And it was a very impressive ship. You probably can't see the size and the scale of it from that, but it was about, nearly a meter long.
Yeah, it was pretty enormous. And he had to, I mean, it's very funny. Gavin's made a point about saying the wings, but, you got to remember in Lego, it wasn't easy. I mean, they had to stand up by themselves as well. And of course, you had to get green bricks, which wasn't very easy. But yeah, you can't tell. But the actual cockpit part here actually lifts up. And of course, you can stick the pod in there and have the Thunderbird 4 and all the rest of it. So it was, really, really impressive piece. So, yeah.
Yeah. So that brings us to the end of our presentation on Thunderbirds. Now, we're going to keep looking at Gerry Anderson stuff on the show. We've still got Captain Scarlet. There's a lot of other shows in the 60s and 70s that weren't as well known, Secret Service and Joe 90 and a lot of things that haven't been repeated as much. But we will look at all the merchandise from that. And then we get on to sort of some of the bigger live action stuff where we're going to dedicate one whole episode just to chicks in purple wigs. Remember we discussed that, Dax?
Can't knock that. What can I say? Chicks in purple wigs. That's a good way of promoting the episode. I just want to chuck this one in from Greg King. When a comic has collectible first issue printed on the cover, theoretically, once they say collectible first issue, it's not a collectible because they're trying to market it as being that, and it's not. You can't say we've produced it, it's a collectible. It has to become one over a period of time. So it's very hard to sort of manufacture that artificially, and people see right through it. So yeah.
So we will be doing that, but we won't be doing that next week. We've done, I think, about 4 or 5 episodes on Gerry Anderson stuff, and we will come back to it a little bit later in the year. Next week, we're going to be visiting everybody's favorite topic. We haven't done one for a while, but we're going to be looking at Doctor Who merchandise from the 6th and 7th Doctor. So during the height of the controversial era of the 80s, it's a really interesting era to be looking at, a really interesting era to be collecting Doctor Who. You're going to love this, aren't you, Dags?
Dude, I'm already dying from freaking COVID, and now you're going to shove the Doctor Who into me as well. I'm just going to have a relapse this time next week, so there you go. Very good. All right, we're going to buzz off. We're going to leave you to it. So for you Doctor Who fans out there, absolutely awesome. If you're like Moneybag Sullivan and probably like myself, I'm just going to be somewhere else doing my hair that day if I haven't carked it from COVID-19 in the interim. All right, we'll leave you to it. You party hard. Any final words before we sign off for the night, Mr. Aaron?
Just thanks, Dags, for being here tonight, because we could have cancelled because of the COVID, but he has struggled through, and I think he has done an amazing job. So if you like Dags and you don't want him to cark it because we're doing a Doctor Who episode, hit the love button for him now. He'll feel it. We'll see the likes go up. But thanks for tonight, mate.
That's all right. As soon as we go off the air, I'm going to be in the fetal position. My head's going to be coughing and the nose is going to be blowing up and all sorts of stuff. So in the interim, no fans. Make sure you keep all of your Thunderbirds collectibles, especially the original ones, mint in box.
Or open up the placenta cream and rub it into it.
Use it vigorously. What can I say? And if that doesn't work, go the whack off. I mean, there's always room for some of that in your life. Oh, God. All right, leave you to it, guys. See you next week. Hopefully, it'll be healthier. Okay, catch up. Bye-bye.
See you.